I never expected to discover that the girl who had spent an entire year chasing the most unreachable boy in school would eventually turn her attention to his brother, and somehow make me the villain in her story. My name is Grace, and Jake Thompson had been my closest friend since childhood. Everyone at school knew the three of us by reputation. Ethan Wilson was the untouchable heir everyone admired. Jake Thompson was his quiet, intimidating younger brother who barely spoke to anyone, and I was the only person Jake willingly followed around. Lily had spent months trying to win Ethan over. She brought him gifts, prepared lunches, waited outside his classroom, and even tried to work at the Wilson mansion just to get closer to him. Ethan rejected her every single time. Then she learned about the girl he had once loved, the one who had died years ago. Instead of accepting that Ethan's heart already belonged to someone he could never get back, Lily decided she could become a replacement. At his birthday party, she disguised herself as a servant and begged him to accept her, promising she could become exactly like the girl he had lost. Ethan finally snapped and had security drag her away. The school almost expelled her, but her parents pleaded with Ethan's family, claiming Lily had developed serious mental problems. She disappeared for 2 months. When she finally returned, everyone expected her to avoid Ethan. Instead, she seemed strangely calm. I was sitting beside my desk mate one morning when I noticed Lily looking directly at me with a smile. I smiled back, mostly because I was confused. My desk mate leaned toward me and whispered, "Since when does Lily greet anyone besides Ethan?" I shrugged. Maybe she's finally in a good mood. I didn't tell her the truth. I could hear a strange mechanical voice inside Lily's head. "Host, target Jake Thompson is absent today. I recommend establishing a relationship with his childhood friend Grace before approaching the target." I froze. Jake? Why was some mysterious voice talking about Jake as if he were a mission objective? Before I could think about it, my desk mate suddenly grabbed my arm. "Look. Ethan's coming." Ethan appeared outside our classroom window and handed me a carton of milk and a bag of bread. "You skipped breakfast again, Grace." Jake asked me to bring these. Before I could answer, Lily stood up and asked, "Is Jake sick?" "He didn't come today. He'll be here this afternoon," I replied. Ethan gave me one last look and hurried away. Lily watched him leave without showing the slightest interest. That alone was enough to make my desk mate stare at her in disbelief. During break, I was half asleep at my desk when I heard the mechanical voice again. "Warning. Target approaching." I opened my eyes and found Jake standing beside me. He calmly organized the pens scattered across my desk. "Weren't you coming this afternoon?" I asked. I changed my mind. His gaze landed on the cold milk Ethan had brought me. "He gave you that?" Without answering, Jake pulled another carton from his bag. "This one's warm." I took it immediately and handed the cold one to him. "Don't waste it." His eyes lingered on the word waste as if he were memorizing it. Then he noticed the half-eaten bread. I picked it up and offered it to him. "Take it. It's too sweet for me. Don't buy this brand again." Jake nodded seriously. Before I could ask how he was feeling, Lily suddenly stood up. "Grace, that's enough." I stared at her. "What?" Her eyes were already red. "Why do you keep giving Jake your leftovers? He's not your trash can." I glanced at Jake. He was calmly reading the ingredients on the bread package, completely ignoring her. "He doesn't seem upset." Lily's expression hardened. She snatched the bread from his hands and threw it into the trash. "Jake, don't eat that." Jake frowned at the empty space where the bread had been. Then, surprisingly, he looked at Lily and said, "Thank you." Lily's face brightened instantly. Jake turned to me. "I'll wait for you after school." Then he walked away. Lily looked at me like she had just discovered proof of some terrible crime. "I won't let you keep treating him like this." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jake didn't even complain. Why are you more upset than he is? She glared at me. You're manipulating him. You only stay with Jake because you want to get close to Ethan. Everyone knows the Wilson family is rich. You're desperate to climb higher, aren't you? I almost laughed. Just because you would use someone for that reason doesn't mean everyone else would. Her face crumpled. She turned away and ran from the classroom. I watched her disappear, completely bewildered. But then I remembered the voice I had heard inside her mind. She wasn't behaving normally. She was following instructions from something only she could hear. Later that afternoon, I saw Lily standing beneath a birch tree with Jake. She was smiling brightly and talking about yogurt from a nearby shop. You like that flavor too? I love it. Then her voice became softer. Grace doesn't really appreciate it. I saw her throw away the yogurt you bought her. I stopped behind a tree. She was talking about the peach yogurt Jake had bought me. I had thrown it away because I was allergic to peaches. Jake had been sick with a fever that day and simply grabbed the wrong bottle. Lily clearly expected him to become angry with me. Instead, Jake stared at her with an empty expression. I know. Lily blinked. You know? I told her to throw it away. I bought the wrong flavor. Her face stiffened. The mechanical voice suddenly rang inside my head again. Warning. Target affection toward Grace is decreasing. Current affection, -20. Host should stop damaging the relationship. I nearly smiled. Lily hadn't even managed to get close to Jake, yet the system was already panicking. Jake walked away from her and immediately spotted me. The cold emptiness vanished from his face. He walked straight toward me. His eyes dropped to my empty water bottle. You're out. I was going to refill it. I handed it to him. He took it without hesitation. I'll do it. Not cold water, I added. My stomach hurts today. Lukewarm, he repeated, already walking away. I looked back at Lily. She stood frozen beneath the tree, her fists clenched. I could almost hear the confusion in her thoughts. Why is he like this? The story said Jake was a rebellious, untouchable loner. Why is he acting like Grace's servant? The mechanical voice answered her. Target suffers from severe attachment trauma. Grace currently occupies the dominant attachment role. To acquire him, you must convince him that Grace is unworthy of his devotion and establish yourself as his rescuer. I finally understood her plan. Lily wanted to become Jake's savior. She thought I was mistreating a helpless boy, and she intended to rescue him from me. Unfortunately for her, she had no idea what she was dealing with. Over the next several days, Lily became more aggressive. Whenever I asked Jake to carry my books, she would appear and accuse me of exploiting his injured wrist. Whenever I gave Jake food I didn't want, she would buy him expensive meals and accuse me of starving him. Soon, rumors spread throughout the school. My deskmate looked worried one morning. Grace, people are saying you bully Jake. Lily has been crying in the bathroom, telling everyone you control him. I simply turned the page of my textbook. Let them talk. But Jake doesn't defend you, she whispered. People think he's too afraid of you. I looked toward Jake. He sat 2 rows ahead, silently shaving a pencil with a small blade, carefully arranging the wooden shavings into a perfect pile. He looked detached from everything around him. Then the bell rang. Lily walked directly to his desk and slammed both hands against it. The classroom went silent. Jake, she said, you don't have to live like this. You don't have to wait for Grace outside school. You don't have to eat her leftovers. You're a person. You're Ethan's brother. She reached toward his hand. Come have lunch with me. I'll show you what real respect feels like. I closed my textbook. If Lily wanted to prove that Jake needed saving, I decided to give her exactly what she wanted. Jake, I called. His head immediately turned toward me. Go have lunch with Lily. The pencil in his hand snapped. His face went completely pale. What? You heard me. I'm tired of having you follow me everywhere. Go with her. Don't wait for me after school anymore. I packed my bag and walked out before he could respond. I didn't go to the cafeteria. I went to the rooftop and sat beside the fence with a can of coffee, waiting to see what would happen. 10 minutes later, the rooftop door exploded open. Jake stood there, breathing heavily, his tie loose and his knuckles bleeding. His eyes searched the rooftop desperately until they found me. Then he ran toward me and dropped to his knees. Grace. His fingers grabbed my skirt. He was trembling violently. I'm sorry. Please don't send me away. Whatever I did, I'll fix it. Just don't leave me. I stared down at him and finally understood just how deep his attachment ran. Jake didn't want independence. To him, being needed was proof that he belonged somewhere. And if I withdrew that connection, his entire world collapsed. I gently touched his hair. His trembling slowly eased. I'm not throwing you away, I said quietly. I was testing something. He buried his face against me and whispered, don't ever test that again. Then the rooftop door opened again. Ethan stood there, looking grim. Grace, he said, you need to understand what just happened. He glanced at Jake. When our mother left us, Jake was 5. She locked him inside a closet because he kept following her. He thought she abandoned him because he wasn't useful. Ethan's expression darkened. That's why he attached himself to you. You gave him things to do. You made him feel useful. To Jake, serving you isn't humiliation. It's security. I looked down at Jake, who still refused to let go of me. I know. Ethan sighed. Then you also know Lily is playing with something she doesn't understand. I nodded. And I'm not letting her take him away from me. The incident on the rooftop should have been enough to make Lily stop, but it only seemed to convince her that she had to try harder. By the next morning, the entire school was buzzing with rumors. According to the stories spreading through the halls, I had somehow manipulated Jake into becoming my personal servant, and when another girl tried to help him, he had supposedly lost control. Lily appeared in class with a small bandage around her arm and a carefully wounded expression, making sure everyone noticed. She never directly accused me, but she didn't need to. Every tear and every trembling sigh did the work for her. My desk mate leaned toward me during homeroom. Grace, this is getting serious. People are saying you brainwashed Jake. I kept writing in my notebook. Let them say whatever they want. You're not even worried? No. I looked toward Jake. He was sitting near the window, expressionless as usual. The only difference was that his eyes kept drifting toward me every few seconds, as if checking that I was still there. Lily noticed too. She approached him during lunch with an expensive bento box. Jake, I brought this for you. You shouldn't have to eat Grace's leftovers. Jake didn't even look at the box. I don't want it. Lily's smile faltered. But I made sure it has everything you like. Grace didn't ask you to. His answer was so cold that several nearby students went silent. Lily's fingers tightened around the lunchbox. I'm only trying to help you. Jake finally looked at her. I don't need your help. Then he turned away. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The mechanical voice inside her head started buzzing again. Warning. Target resistance remains high. Host must accelerate emotional intervention. Lily lowered her head, hiding her frustration. I knew she was running out of time, but I had no idea what the system meant by accelerating her intervention until she started attacking my relationship with Jake in increasingly ridiculous ways. Whenever I asked him to bring me something, Lily would loudly accuse me of ordering him around. Whenever Jake waited outside my classroom, she would tell everyone he was afraid to leave because I had threatened him. She even started telling teachers that I isolated Jake from other students. The funniest part was that Jake never seemed interested in defending himself. He simply stayed beside me. One afternoon, Lily finally confronted him in front of the whole class. "Jake, why do you let her treat you like this?" she demanded. Jake was sharpening another pencil, his movements slow and precise. "Treat me like what?" "Like you're her servant." "I am." The classroom went completely silent. Lily stared at him. "You admit it?" Jake glanced at her as though she had asked an incredibly stupid question. "She asks me to do things. I do them." "What's the problem?" "Because you should have your own life," Lily shouted. Jake's eyes became colder. "This is my life." She looked at me with desperation. "Grace, tell him he doesn't have to obey you." I leaned back in my chair. "Jake, you don't have to do anything I ask." He immediately answered, "I know." Lily's face brightened for half a second. Then Jake continued, "I still want to." Her expression collapsed. I couldn't help smiling. She had spent days trying to convince everyone that Jake was trapped, yet the person she wanted to rescue was openly telling her that he didn't want to be rescued. The system apparently didn't appreciate that answer either. I heard Lily's thoughts tremble with panic. Why isn't this working? What am I missing? The mechanical voice replied, "Target's attachment to Grace is deeply rooted. Host must sever the attachment completely before forming a replacement bond." Lily's eyes slowly shifted toward me. Something in her expression made the hairs on my arms rise. She wasn't going to stop. She was going to try to remove me. 3 days later, I received a strange note during afternoon study hall. A freshman handed it to my desk mate and said it was from Mr. Harris, the physical education teacher. According to the note, I was supposed to go to the old storage building behind the gym and help organize some forgotten school files. I stared at the handwriting. Something felt wrong immediately. Mr. Harris was famous for avoiding extra work. There was no chance he had suddenly decided to organize old records. I looked toward Lily's desk. It was empty. My suspicion hardened into certainty. Still, I decided to go. If Lily wanted to make a move, I wanted to know what she was planning. Before leaving, I told my desk mate, "If Jake asks where I am, tell him I'll be back soon." She nodded. I walked through the rain toward the abandoned storage building. The place was barely used anymore. The walls were stained from years of moisture, and the air smelled of mold, dust, and old sports equipment. I pushed the door open. "Mr. Harris?" I called. No answer. I took 2 more steps inside. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind me. I spun around. A heavy lock clicked into place. Then Lily stepped out from behind a stack of old gym mats. She looked nothing like the crying girl everyone had seen all week. Her eyes were wild, and her face was twisted with anger. Finally, she whispered, "I got you alone." I folded my arms. "Are you trying to get expelled again?" She laughed bitterly. "I don't care anymore." She began pacing. "You ruined everything. First Ethan rejected me because of that dead girl, and now Jake won't even look at me because of you. Why does everyone choose you? Maybe because you keep trying to force them to choose you." Her expression darkened. "You don't understand. I have to get Jake. If I fail, I'm finished." I stared at her. "Get Jake? He's not an object." She ignored me. "The system said he was supposed to be easy. The rebellious younger brother. The misunderstood boy. The perfect second male lead. I was supposed to save him, make him fall in love with me, and finally make Ethan regret rejecting me. So that was it." She really believed she was living inside some kind of novel. And when that didn't work? I asked. You decided I was the obstacle. Lily's breathing became heavier. You are the obstacle. She pointed at me. As long as you're around, Jake will never see me. I couldn't believe how far she had fallen. What are you planning to do? Her smile made my stomach tighten. I'm going to tell him you abandoned him. I stared at her. He won't believe you. He will if you're gone. She stepped closer. I'll tell him you said you were tired of him. I'll tell him you never wanted him around. I'll tell him you asked me to keep you away from him because you couldn't stand him anymore. The mechanical voice suddenly echoed through her mind. Warning. This strategy has a high probability of triggering extreme hostility. Lily clenched her fists. I don't care, she screamed at the empty air. The plot will correct itself once Grace disappears. I realized then that she wasn't just desperate. She was completely willing to gamble with Jake's fragile mind. Lily, I warned, if you tell Jake that, you have no idea what you're going to unleash. She smiled. We'll see. She climbed through a small ventilation opening near the floor, slid outside, and locked the door from the other side. I immediately tried the handle. Nothing. I checked my phone. No signal. I looked at the clock. It was 3:45. School ended at 4. Jake usually waited for me by my locker at 4:05. I wasn't worried about being trapped. I was worried about what Lily was about to do. At 4:05, Jake stood beside my locker with a carton of strawberry milk in his hand. He had warmed it because he knew I preferred it that way on rainy days. 4:10 came. I still hadn't appeared. His fingers tightened around the carton. His breathing became uneven. Had he done something wrong? Was I angry with him? Had I finally decided I didn't need him? Then Lily appeared at the end of the hallway. Her hair was wet, and she looked as though she had been crying. Jake's expression immediately hardened. Where is Grace? He asked. Lily swallowed. Jake, I need to tell you something. He didn't respond. Grace left. The carton in his hand crumpled. Warm milk spilled between his fingers. What did you say? She told me to tell you she couldn't handle you anymore. Lily stepped closer. She said your attachment was suffocating her. She said she was tired of you following her everywhere. Jake stared at her hand when she reached toward his arm. Something inside him seemed to break. For a moment, I imagined he would simply collapse. But then his expression changed. His panic became something colder. Sharper. You're lying. Lily froze. What? Grace wouldn't send you. His voice dropped. She would tell me herself. Lily's face went pale. She asked me to. Jake's hand suddenly closed around her throat and slammed her against the lockers. Several students screamed. Where is she? Jake asked quietly. Lily clawed at his wrist. Jake, let go. He didn't move. Ethan came running from the stairs. Jake. Stop. Jake didn't even look at him. 3 seconds. His grip tightened. 1. Ethan grabbed his shoulder. Jake, you'll kill her. 2. Lily's eyes filled with terror. Finally, the system inside her mind screamed, critical failure. Host is expiring. She gasped, the old gym storage. She's locked inside. Jake released her instantly. Lily collapsed onto the floor, coughing violently. Jake didn't even glance back. He sprinted toward the school entrance and disappeared into the storm. Meanwhile, I had been trapped in darkness for almost 40 minutes. The rain hammered against the roof, and the temperature inside the storage room kept dropping. I was considering using an old metal shot put to break the lock when I heard a heavy impact against the door. I froze. Another impact followed. The wooden frame cracked. Grace. Jake's voice came from outside. I'm here. I shouted. Stand back. I barely had time to move before the door exploded inward. Jake stood there soaked from head to toe, breathing like he had run the entire distance. The moment his eyes found me, his expression shattered. He crossed the room and dropped to his knees, wrapping his arms around my waist. He was trembling violently. Grace, he whispered. She said you left me. I put my hands on his wet hair. I'm right here. She said you hated me. His voice broke. She said you didn't want me anymore. Please don't leave me. I'll change. I'll be quieter. I won't bother you. Just don't throw me away. I knelt down and made him look at me. Jake. Did I ever tell you to leave? He shook his head. Did I ever say I hated you? Another shake. Then why did you believe her? His eyes filled with tears. I wiped the rain from his face. Listen carefully. I don't throw away what belongs to me. You understand? His breathing slowly steadied. Yours, he whispered. I'm yours. I pulled him to his feet. Good. Now let's go back. I glanced at the broken door. We have someone to deal with. When Jake and I returned to the main building, the hallway was already in chaos. Students were whispering in frightened voices, teachers were trying to figure out what had happened, and Lily was sitting on the floor near the lockers with one hand pressed against her bruised throat. Ethan stood nearby, looking more furious than I had ever seen him. The moment Lily saw Jake holding my hand, the color drained from her face. Jake's fingers tightened around mine, but his expression had already returned to its usual cold calm. As long as he could feel me beside him, the panic inside him seemed to disappear. Ethan looked at Jake's bleeding knuckles, then at me. Grace, what happened? Ask Lily, I replied. Lily immediately pointed at me. She's lying. She locked me out. Jake almost killed me because of her. I stared at her without emotion. You locked me inside that building. Her face went pale. I was trying to help Jake. By trapping me and telling him I abandoned him? I asked. Lily's lips trembled. You don't understand, she shouted. I had no choice. The mechanical voice suddenly echoed inside her mind. Warning. Target's hostility has reached critical levels. Host survival probability decreasing. Lily covered her ears. Shut up. Several students stared at her strangely. She seemed to be arguing with someone who wasn't there. I stepped closer. You should have stopped before you tried to destroy the one thing keeping Jake stable. Lily looked at Jake. You turned him into this, she screamed. He was supposed to be kind. He was supposed to be lonely and waiting for someone like me to save him. Jake's eyes narrowed. I don't need saving. Lily flinched at his voice. I looked directly at her. You've spent the last 2 months treating Jake like a character from a story you read, instead of a real person. You saw an aloof boy and decided he must secretly need a gentle heroine. You never once bothered to ask what he actually wanted. He doesn't know what he wants. Lily cried. He's broken. Jake's expression darkened, but I squeezed his hand. He immediately calmed. You're right about one thing, I said. He is broken. But you were never the person who could fix him. Lily shook her head desperately. No. No, the system said. She stopped. Her eyes widened. I smiled slightly. The system? Her mouth snapped shut. Ethan looked at her in confusion. What system? Lily began breathing rapidly. The mechanical voice inside her head grew louder. Critical mission status. Host has 72 hours remaining to establish a romantic bond with Jake Thompson. Failure will result in memory erasure and host termination. Lily's eyes filled with terror. She had been given a deadline. That explained her increasingly desperate behavior. She wasn't trying to win Jake's affection anymore. She was fighting for her own survival. But she had made one terrible mistake. She had underestimated what abandonment meant to Jake. She believed making him lose me would create an opening for herself. Instead, she had awakened the part of him that feared abandonment more than anything else in the world. Ethan stepped toward Lily. "You need help." She backed away. "No. I don't need help." Her eyes darted toward Jake. "I can still fix this." She suddenly rushed toward him. "Jake, listen to me. Grace is controlling you. Come with me and I'll treat you properly. I'll never make you obey me. I'll let you do whatever you want." Jake didn't even look at her. He was watching me. "Do you want to go?" he asked me quietly. I shook my head. "No." He nodded once. "Then I'm staying." Lily looked like someone had just stabbed her. "Why?" she whispered. "Why do you choose her?" Jake finally looked at her. His answer was simple. "Because she's Grace." Nothing else was needed. The mechanical voice inside Lily's mind suddenly screamed. Mission failure approaching. Lily staggered backward. She grabbed her hair with both hands. "No. No, I can still do this." Her breathing became frantic. "Give me another target." "Ethan." "I'll go back to Ethan. I'll make him love me again." Target Ethan Wilson is permanently unavailable. The system's response was emotionless. "Then someone else." Lily shouted. "Anyone." Her classmates were beginning to move away from her. They thought she was having another breakdown. Ethan looked at me with concern. "We need to get her to the nurse." Before anyone could move, Lily suddenly laughed. It wasn't a normal laugh. It was sharp, desperate, and completely empty. "You think this is over," she whispered to me. "The story won't end like this." I didn't answer. I simply pulled Jake toward the classroom. He followed immediately. For the next 2 days, Lily disappeared from school again. Teachers claimed she was sick, but rumors spread that her parents had taken her somewhere for treatment. I didn't know what was happening inside her head, but I knew the system was running out of patience. Jake, meanwhile, became even more attached to me. He waited outside every classroom. He carried my books without being asked. He checked my water bottle several times a day. If I sneezed, he immediately wanted to know whether I needed medicine. He didn't seem embarrassed by any of it. In fact, he looked calmer than ever. One afternoon, I was sitting in the library when Jake placed a warm drink beside my elbow. "You haven't eaten." "I'm not hungry." "You need something." I looked up at him. "You sound like a mother." His mouth twitched. "Then eat." I laughed. He watched me until I took a bite. Only then did he sit down. That was when I realized something important. Jake's attachment wasn't just about being ordered around. He had chosen his role because it gave him structure. When he was useful to me, he felt safe. When I acknowledged him, he felt real. And as long as I understood that, I could keep him grounded. Unfortunately, Lily had no intention of giving up. On Friday afternoon, I was packing my things when my desk mate suddenly whispered, "Grace, Lily is back." I looked toward the door. Lily stood there. She looked pale and exhausted. Her hair was messy, and dark circles surrounded her eyes. But there was something else in her expression. Determination. She walked directly toward me. "Can we talk?" I closed my bag. "About what?" "Jake." "No." Her jaw tightened. "You don't understand what you're doing to him." "I understand him better than you ever will." Then prove it. She pointed toward the hallway. Let him make a choice. I looked at Jake. He was standing beside the door, waiting for me. Fine, I said. Jake, do you want to go with Lily? He looked at Lily, then at me. No. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Why? Because I don't want to. But I could make you happy. Grace already does. Lily's face crumpled. She turned and walked away. I thought that would finally end things. I was wrong. That evening, Jake walked me home. The streets were quiet, and the sky was beginning to darken. He carried my bag over one shoulder while I walked beside him. You're quiet, I said. Thinking. About what? He stopped walking. If you ever leave me, what am I supposed to do? I stared at him. I'm not leaving. I know. He lowered his eyes. But people leave. I understood immediately. This wasn't about Lily. This was the wound he carried from childhood. Jake, I said gently, you can't spend your whole life being afraid that everyone will abandon you. He looked at me. I can if you're there. I sighed. That's not healthy. He gave me a faint smile. Maybe not. But it's true. I didn't know what to say. He reached for my hand. You don't have to promise forever. His voice became quieter. Just don't lie to me. I squeezed his fingers. I won't. For the first time, he looked peaceful. But somewhere else in the city, Lily was reaching the end of her countdown. The system's voice echoed through her mind. Final warning. Host has 24 hours remaining. Lily stared at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were bloodshot. I won't die, she whispered. I won't. The system answered coldly, then complete the mission. She looked at the school uniform hanging on her chair. Then she smiled. If I can't make Jake choose me willingly, I'll make him believe Grace has chosen to abandon him. She had already tried that once. It failed because Jake knew I would never send a message through her. This time, she needed something more convincing. Something that would make him believe I had personally rejected him. And she knew exactly what she was going to do. The next morning, I received a message from Jake asking me to meet him behind the gym after classes. I frowned. Jake never texted me like that. He always came directly to my classroom. Something felt wrong. But I went anyway. Behind the gym, I found Lily standing alone. She held my phone in her hand. My heart dropped. Where did you get that? She smiled. Jake left it on his desk. I used it to send you a message. What do you want? One final chance. She stepped closer. Come with me quietly, Grace. Let me talk to Jake. If you cooperate, I'll tell him you left willingly. I stared at her. And if I refuse? Her smile disappeared. Then I'll make sure he believes you hate him. I shook my head. You still don't understand Jake. She narrowed her eyes. What don't I understand? He can survive rejection. What he can't survive is uncertainty. If he thinks I abandoned him, he'll search for me until he finds the truth. Lily's face tightened. Not if I control the story. I stepped closer. You can't control Jake. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then the mechanical voice inside her head said something that made her expression change completely. Host, target Jake Thompson is approaching. I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around. Jake was walking toward us. Lily smiled. Perfect. I knew immediately that something terrible was about to happen. Jake was walking toward us, and the moment his eyes landed on Lily, his expression turned cold. Then he looked at me, and everything in his face softened. Grace, why did you ask me to come here? I frowned. I didn't. Lily quickly stepped between us. She did. She wanted to talk to you about something important. Jake's eyes narrowed. Grace? I shook my head. I never sent that message. Lily's face went pale. For a second, the mechanical voice inside her head became almost frantic. Host, deception has been exposed. Immediate correction required. Lily suddenly pulled out my phone and held it toward Jake. Look. She used my phone to contact you. She wanted to tell you something herself. Jake didn't even glance at the screen. He walked straight toward me. Did you send me anything? No. Then I believe you. His answer was immediate. Lily stared at him in disbelief. But I have proof. Jake looked at the phone in her hand. That proves nothing. Jake, she's manipulating you. Lily screamed. She keeps controlling everything you do. You don't even realize you're trapped. Jake's expression became frighteningly calm. You keep saying that. Lily stepped closer. Because it's true. Then why, Jake asked quietly, do I feel safe when I'm with her? Lily froze. Jake continued, his voice low and steady. Why do I sleep better when I know she's nearby? Why do I want to help her? Why do I feel like I'm finally useful when she asks me to do something? Lily's lips parted, but no answer came. You think you're rescuing me, Jake said. You're not. You're trying to take away the only person I trust. Lily's eyes filled with tears. I can become that person. Jake shook his head. No. The mechanical voice screamed inside her mind. Critical failure. Target rejection confirmed. Host affection level has reached irreversible negative value. Lily suddenly grabbed her head. No. Stop. I can still fix this. She looked at Jake desperately. Give me one chance. I can make you love me. I can be better than Grace. Jake stared at her for several seconds before saying the cruelest thing he had ever said to her. I don't want you. Lily's body went rigid. I don't want your food. I don't want your help. I don't want your attention. I don't want you anywhere near Grace. Her face turned white. No. And you should stop pretending this is about saving me, Jake continued. You're only trying to save yourself. Lily's eyes widened. The system had never told her she could be exposed like this. She stumbled backward. No, no, no. Then she screamed. System. Give me another target. Anyone. I'll do anything. Nothing happened. Please, she cried. I don't want to disappear. Jake instinctively stepped in front of me, shielding me from her. Ethan appeared behind us a moment later, having followed Jake after noticing he had left the building. What's going on? He asked. Before I could answer, Lily collapsed to her knees. Her fingers clawed at her hair as she screamed at something none of us could see. Don't erase me. I can still complete the mission. The mechanical voice finally spoke one last time. Mission failed. Target affection, -100. Host termination protocol initiated. Lily froze. Her eyes widened in terror. Wait. The voice continued. Host soul extraction beginning. Her body suddenly went limp. She collapsed onto the ground. Everyone around us stepped back in shock. Ethan immediately called for help. I remained still, staring at Lily. The strange pressure in my mind disappeared. No more mechanical voice. No more system warnings. Silence. A few seconds later, Lily gasped and opened her eyes. She looked around as if she had just woken from a deep sleep. Where am I? She whispered. Ethan crouched beside her. You're at school. She stared at him with confusion. Why am I on the floor? You collapsed. She looked around at the students, then at Jake, and finally at me. There was no hatred in her eyes anymore. No obsession. No recognition of the events of the past few months. It was as though someone had erased the entire chapter from her mind. The original Lily had returned. Whatever entity had taken control of her body was gone. The school eventually treated the incident as another psychological breakdown. Her parents arrived and took her away. A few weeks later, she transferred to another school. The rumors about me and Jake slowly disappeared, replaced by new gossip and new drama. But the strange events of those months never completely left my mind. Jake, however, seemed to recover faster than I expected. He became calmer. He still followed me everywhere, still carried my books, still remembered exactly how I liked my drinks, but there was less desperation in him now. One afternoon, we sat together outside the school library. Jake was organizing my notes while I worked on my university applications. "We're graduating soon," I said. He nodded. "I know. I'm applying to several universities on the East Coast." He didn't even look up. "I'm going too." I laughed. "You don't even know which universities." "I'll find out." "What if we don't get into the same school?" He finally looked at me. "Then I'll live nearby." "Jake." "What?" "You can't build your entire life around me." He was silent for a moment. "Why not?" I sighed. "Because someday you'll want something for yourself." He closed my notebook and looked directly at me. "I already have what I want." "And what's that?" "You." I rolled my eyes. "That's not an answer." "It is to me." He leaned back against the chair. "Before you, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I didn't know why I was here. I only knew I didn't want people to leave." His voice became quieter. "Then you came along and gave me things to do. You trusted me with small responsibilities. You let me help you. You made me feel useful." He looked down at his hands. "Maybe it sounds strange, but that's when I stopped feeling like a ghost." My chest tightened. I knew his attachment wasn't normal. I knew some of it came from childhood trauma. But I also knew that I couldn't simply rip that bond away without hurting him. "Jake," I said softly, "what happens if one day I ask you to stop following me?" He looked at me for a long moment. "I'd ask why." "And if I told you I wanted space?" He swallowed. "I'd give it to you." That answer surprised me. "Really?" He nodded. "Because you asked." I smiled. "Good." He reached for my hand. "But if you don't ask, I'm staying." I laughed. "You're impossible. You knew that when we were kids." I squeezed his fingers. 6 months later, we were preparing for graduation. Lily's family had transferred her to a school in another state. She had no memory of the bizarre events that had happened during that year, and perhaps that was for the best. Ethan had stopped mentioning her entirely. As for Jake, he had become even more attached to me, but there was something different now. He wasn't constantly terrified that I would disappear. He had finally begun to understand that my presence wasn't something he had to earn every second of every day. One Saturday afternoon, he was in my bedroom helping me organize my books while I worked on a college essay. He stood beside the bookshelf, carefully arranging every novel according to height and color. I watched him for a moment before saying, "Jake." He immediately turned. "Yes?" "You missed one." I pointed to the top shelf. He looked at it and smiled. "I knew you were going to say that." "Then why did you leave it?" "So you'd notice." I stared at him. "You're getting manipulative." "I learned from you." I laughed and rolled my eyes. He walked toward me and crouched beside my chair. "Are you nervous about college?" "A little." "Don't be." "Easy for you to say." "I'll be there." I smiled. You really are planning to follow me everywhere, aren't you? Yes. He said it so seriously that I couldn't help laughing. Then his expression softened. Unless you tell me not to. I looked into his eyes. There was still that familiar intensity, but it no longer felt like the desperate panic I had seen on the rooftop. It was devotion, complicated and imperfect, but chosen. I don't want you to become someone else just because people think our relationship is strange, I told him. I don't care what they think. And I don't want you to forget that you have your own life. He nodded. I know. He reached up and gently tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. But you will always be part of it. I smiled. Then finish the bookshelf. He immediately stood. Yes, Grace. I watched him return to his task, and for the first time I realized that the story had never been about some mysterious system choosing the right heroine or about a girl stealing the heart of a supposedly untouchable male lead. It had been about two broken people finding a strange kind of stability in each other. Lily had believed Jake was a character waiting to be rescued. She never understood that he wasn't waiting for a savior. He had already chosen where he belonged. And as for me, I never needed to become the heroine of anyone's story. I only needed to be myself. The strange system was gone. The forced plot was gone. Lily's mission was over. All that remained was Jake standing beside my bookshelf, carefully arranging my novels because I had asked him to. He glanced back at me with that rare smile he showed almost no one else. Is this good? I looked at the shelf. Almost. The blue one is in the wrong place. He immediately moved it. Now? Perfect. He smiled again. Then I'm done. I reached for his collar and pulled him closer. Good. He leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss near the corner of my lips. I'm not going anywhere, Grace. I smiled. I know.